Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? It's me, the Cerebral Diva. It's Tuesday morning. It's about 6 a.m. And believe it or not, I am up recording videos. So if my voice sounds a little raspy, that's probably why. But the reason I'm up recording videos is because you know how you're sleeping and there's just like all of these different thoughts going through your mind. Like sometimes I have such a hard time sleeping. Um, because my brain really doesn't have an off switch. It just thinks and thinks and thinks and thinks. And yesterday before I went to sleep, I watched a clip from this documentary about Mike Brown. Um, and a lot of you probably already have seen the clip. And before I talk about the clip, let me just give you guys a brief synopsis of who Mike Brown is. Mike Brown is a black man out of Ferguson, Missouri. He was probably one of the major catalysts to the whole Black Lives Matter movement. He was killed by a police officer. There were marches in Ferguson, Missouri for several days afterwards. There was also an investigation by the Department of Justice by which that particular police department was found to be extremely corrupt. And I believe they were actually taken over by the Department of Justice because it was so corrupt. In any case, at the time of his death, it was alleged that he had robbed a supermarket prior to the events that led to him ultimately being killed by a police officer. So this whole fallacy or notion of him robbing the supermarket was propagated in the media, and he was really portrayed as this villain, this bad guy, this horrible human being who was a bully, who did all these terrible things. So recently, this documentary came out with footage that none of us had ever been privy to. And in the video, you see a very docile, a very amiable Mike Brown, not confrontational in the least. And granted, there's no audio in the video, but just based on body language, it's hard to believe that he was doing anything other than being cordial or being communicative, not in a threatening manner, which completely contradicts everything that we were told. Um, and so when I saw this video, because believe it or not, I had heard so much that he had robbed a convenience store that I'd actually begun to believe that he, and my argument was that, okay, he robbed the video store, but does robbing the video store warrant I'm sorry, the convenience store? Does robbing who even why are there even video stores anymore? I'm not sure where that came from. Um, that he had robbed the convenience store, and that was the reason that he ultimately encountered police officers. Now, the narrative on the documentary is basically sort of giving you their account, and I don't know what's true, but based on the documentary, it's alleged that he had traded marijuana for 2 boxes of cigarillos. And you see the clerk behind the counter hand him 2 boxes of cigarillos. You see Mike walk off and then pivot and go back to the counter and hand the cigarillos back. Now, I don't know what robber you've encountered, but I've never encountered a robber who comes, who has a change of heart literally seconds after robbing you and decides to return their stuff. So he pivots, he turns back to the counter, hands the boxes of cigarillos back to the clerk, and the clerk puts them in a bag. Now, that's day one. So on day two, Mike comes back to retrieve the cigarillos that he had left there. And once again, this is the narrator's account of the events, which, when you watch the video, completely makes sense. Completely makes sense. Everything and that's the thing. What the police say makes no sense. What the narrator says makes complete and total sense. So when you watch the video and you're sort of getting this blow by blow account of exactly what happened, I mean, I was completely dumbfounded. I mean, I'm speechless. I'm incredulous. Like, I just could not believe that, this man had been vilified by the media. And that's why I say they didn't kill Mike Brown twice. They killed him once. They killed him twice. They killed him physically, and they also assassinated that boy's character. Because if you read comments on Twitter, Facebook, social media in general, you'll see all of these negative comments of these people, disparaging his character. Oh, he was this. Oh, he was that. Oh, he was that. And the bottom line is that these people do not know this young man. And let's just say hypothetically that he was everything that these people say he was. Does that warrant his death? Does that warrant his death? If you're 19, uh, 17, 18, we've all done things when we were young and dumb. All of us. And so the difference is when you're black, being young and dumb can be a death sentence. When you watch things like what is it, the kid with affluenza, or what was it, the Duke, not the Duke. There was someone recently, a college student who raped a girl and basically got like 30 days. Like, when you're white and you do something dumb, and not even dumb, something that traumatizes another person, it's a slap on the wrist. And very often it's a slap on the wrist because it's perceived that we don't want to ruin this person's life long term. But never is that same luxury or that same courtesy afforded to, and let me not say never, but more often than not, it is not afforded to men of color, young black men of color. You know, um, their lives are ruined long term. They're given criminal records, they're given felonies that are ultimately going to almost force them to become recidivists because they can't find jobs, they can't find homes. It detrimentally affects their quality of life long term and doesn't give them a chance or an opportunity to redeem themselves. It's taken away from them at a very early age. So, if you haven't seen this video, this Mike Brown video, I think it's really, really important for you to watch. And I'll tell you something. What this video really taught me is that even though I tend to lean to the left or tend to be more liberal in my thought and in my consciousness, what this video taught me is that even as liberal as I am, sometimes that white noise, those messages that you hear about a person, can begin to permeate your thoughts and change your perception. Because, even without seeing video, I too had began to believe that he had robbed this convenience store because that's what I was told over and over and over and over. And when Donald Trump is talking about fake news, this is fake news. This is the news this is what they have been doing to black people for years. For years. Like, I'm also going to try to link a documentary, put a link to this documentary called Move in Philadelphia. When you see what they did to black people in Philadelphia, when you see what they did to Black Wall Street, when you see how they they experimented with black men with syphilis, um, just the history of racism and discrimination, when you see the things that this country has done to black men or black people, you know, I love America. I feel like it's the best country. I wouldn't want to live any other place. But I also love my mom, right? But if my mom does something wrong, I'm going to tell her she did something wrong. But for some reason in America, we're supposed to be completely oblivious to all the atrocities that America commits and just have this blind allegiance and not call them to the table when they're wrong. And in a lot of cases, America has been wrong. And until we can have real discussions, until we can have real accountability for the things that America has done wrong, not just to us as black people, but to people throughout the world. That's why we're so hated. A lot of people think that people don't like Americans because, we're so liberal, we're so free, we have so many rights. No, that's not why people don't like us. People don't like us because our news very often doesn't tell us some of the things that we're doing in other countries and other nations, because it doesn't paint us in a positive light. So, anyhow, I'm not going to continue talking you guys ear off, but if you get a chance, I'm going to try to link uh, the video to the documentary Move on YouTube, so it's free. And I'm also going to try to put a link to this Mike Brown video. I encourage you to watch it. I think that it'll definitely give you pause. Whether or not it changes your mind, don't let my position shift yours. Be a free and independent thinker. Just because I think and I perceive something as one way, don't let it shift yours. Because my goal is never to change someone's mind. My goal is to open someone's mind. Get all of the information that you possibly can, and then come to your own conclusion. I think that that's what's important, is that we all see with our own eyes and not with the eyes that are being forced upon us. So, anyhow, you guys, as always, in closing, remember to live better, love harder, and think smarter. It is me, the Cerebral Diva. I am signing off.